The original New York gangsters. Who were the Mafia? Where did they come from? And do they still rule the big cities from their dark shadows? Although they would soon make the streets of the US their home, the Mafia actually found its roots in the southern Italian island of Sicily. In the early 19th century, Sicily was a dangerous place to live, especially if you had anything worth stealing. Sicily had a history full of foreign invaders coming in and taking over, whether that be the Romans, Normans, Arabs, or even Spanish. Because of the constant change of rulership, Sicily found itself with very little government presence and a fair amount of independence. This meant wealthy landowners and merchants had to find protection from somewhere else. This is where the earliest roots of the Mafia can be found. The elite of Sicily began paying gangs of individuals to protect them and their wealth. However, it wasn't long until these gangs realised that they had a lot of power and influence, and soon they began to exploit it. They began to develop a network of fraud, kidnapping, smuggling, and even drug trafficking. They quickly spread their power and influence from rural areas to urban centres. As the Mafia's roots dug deep into Sicilian soil, a new chapter was about to be written across the ocean. This brings us to the shores of America, where opportunity and prohibition ignited a new era for these Sicilian imports. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, many Sicilians, including members of the Mafia, immigrated to the United States. They established similar criminal organizations in American cities, most notably in New York, Chicago, and New Orleans, leading to the rise of the American Mafia. In 1920, the US passed the 18th Amendment, also known as Prohibition. The sale, manufacture, and transportation of any alcohol in the US was made illegal. This would be the spark that lit the Mafia wildfire and ignited an era of criminal empires built on America's thirst for the forbidden. This is the era where famous mobsters like Al Capone took over. In 1931, a mob boss by the name of Lucky Luciano founded a governing body known as the Commission that organised the different Mafia families across the country and decreased gang wars and increased Mafia strength across the nation. While Prohibition provided the kindling, it was the strategic minds like Lucky Luciano who fanned the Mafia's flames into an organised inferno, reshaping the underworld's hierarchy. The Mafia went from strength to strength, and by the 1960s it reached the peak of its powers, having a stake in almost every type of illegal activity possible. The Mafia is estimated to have been generating revenue of almost $100 billion a year at its peak. That was the same as about 10% of the US economy. In the neon glow of the 60s, the Mafia's empire, vast and untouchable, seemed invincible. But as the decade came to an end, so did their invincibility, heralding the arrival of a new enemy, the law itself. In the 1970s, things started to change. The US passed the RICO Act. This was directly created to target the Mafia. It essentially allowed the heads of the criminal families to be tried for the broader actions of their organizations, and also included severe punishments when found guilty, such as lengthy prison sentences and drastic fines. Its aim wasn't to target individuals, but to dismantle entire networks and organizations. In the 1980s, US Attorney Rudy Giuliani used RICO to successfully indict the heads of the 5 major New York crime families. So, what kind of power and wealth do the Mafia hold these days? Well, while their golden age is long since over, they are still an ever-present part of the crime world. And who knows, maybe they have more power and influence than they let on. Which leaves us to wonder, just how far does their shadowy criminal empire still reach? Thank you for watching. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe.